Hey, Megan. Marianne, hi. Oh my gosh. We'll give a chance to and populate and we'll get a quarantine beard. I need to trim it again. It's kind of getting to that point, but hello everyone joining. I'm gonna give people just a couple of minutes to get in and then we'll get started. Hope everyone is having a good Thursday so far. So beautiful here today. I'm actually in Huntsville. I drove down a couple weeks ago, so I'm actually in Huntsville, and it's so beautiful today. A nice walk outside. Oh my gosh, Marianne, that's amazing. An old picture from Oliver. That was the first show that I ever did. Yeah, you. Megan, yeah, I know. I barely know what day it is. Pretty much any day. In all of this, I have trouble keeping track when I don't have a schedule. So actually, my dad's working from home, and so I told him he's not working on Fridays, and so I blamed him for my troubles in knowing what day it was because I kept thinking it was Saturday when it was only Friday because he wasn't working. So blame somebody else for my troubles. All right. So it's a couple minutes after 6:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hi to everyone that I don't know. My name is Jere Hunt. I am from Huntsville, Alabama originally. I went to Grissom High School, and I am now a professional dancer in New York City. I dance for a company called Dance New York. I actually wore the T-shirt so you can see how to spell it. My boss, Pascal Rioult, is the choreographer and director of the company. He is France, so that is his last name, which is why it's spelled a little funny. Uh, but I have been with the company now for 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I joined them a year after I graduated from college, and I have been with them now for 10 years. I also work as the wardrobe supervisor for the company, so I take care of all the costumes when we go on tour and everything. And I also am a repetiteur for the company, which means that I go to other companies or colleges, and I set the company's work on other dancers as well. And then beyond my work, you I'm also a choreography teacher, so I travel around some and teach ballet and modern dance, and um, work. I dance. I only produce dance. Um, and they produce all kinds of dance, tap, jazz, ballet, modern, capoeira, flamenco, you name it, they've had it on the stage. So that's been a fun way to see a lot of dance for me. But I also do have experience with front of house stage, house management. So if anybody has questions about that, I'd be happy to answer there too. Hi, Joanna, and hi to Darren. Have I had to overcome any injuries? So Megan has asked if I had to overcome any injuries. I have been pretty fortunate. I've had a couple of minor injuries. I sprained my ankle many years ago, um, and so that was probably the longest I've been out. That was a 6-week recovery. I sprained my shoulder just about 2 years ago. That was only about a 4-week recovery. So fortunately for me, I have not had to go through any major injuries, but I have had a couple of coworkers who had much more serious injuries that caused them to be out for an entire year, broken things and such. But fortunately, I haven't had too much. And Megan has also asked when I started dancing. So I didn't actually start dancing until I was in high school. So I just mentioned to Marianne as this got started, I did a production of Oliver with Huntsville Community Chorus that Marianne Wyndham choreographed and PJ Sliding directed. And that was the first show that I ever did. That was the summer before I started high school, and I fell in love. And so I started doing a lot of theater in high school at Grissom, and also with community theater. Um, and uh, and through that, I started taking dance classes. Stephanie at Grissom, choreographer. For another show with community chorus, used to own a studio called Performing Dance Arts here in Huntsville, and and she said, you really need to start dancing. You have natural talent, but you really should come take class. And so I started taking classes there, and I was almost 17 at that point. So I actually started pretty late, and I started in musical theater, but that kind of led me then to taking ballet, taking jazz and modern, and so then I went to college and I actually started in musical theater, but then I kind of switched over and really started to focus on dancing, and so that's the path that I took, and I danced with a ballet company, and then I got my degree, and now with a modern dance company. Um, Lauren has asked, do you have a favorite style of dance you love to perform? That's really hard, Lauren. I dance for a modern dance company. So my directors were principals with the Martha Graham Dance Company, which is she's considered the mother of modern dance. She started back in the 1920s, and so that's kind of the main thing that I do now. I'll do ballet. I still love musical theater. I don't really do much of it, but I love seeing it. And who knows, I'll get back into it at some point. But yeah, modern is kind of where my my passions lie now. Yeah, Lauren, yay, modern dance. That's right. um, it's wonderful. It's nice because there's kind of like contemporary, which is a kind of a form of modern dance. There's a lot of freedom in it. It allows you uh, to kind of go in whatever direction you want, which is really nice. And that's why they started it. They said we want to break away from the molds of ballet, and we want to dance something to us. And we don't about princes and princesses and fairies and all of that. we want to dance about the things that are happening in our lives as human beings. And so that's kind of how it got started, and that's what kind of drew me to it as well. So Marianne asked, do I have a morning ritual and or a nighttime wind down ritual? I more so in the morning. I definitely before I start moving, well, first thing I do when I get up is make my coffee. That is my number one morning ritual. I can't do anything until I've had my coffee. But once I start getting ready to move, I kind of have a series of kind of stretches and active more active stretching than passive stretching in the morning to get my muscles working. As I get older, it takes a little bit longer and a little bit longer to be prepared to be physical. But yeah, I do kind of have a routine that I follow in the morning. At night, not so much. I tend to sometimes I take baths. If if I've had a really difficult physical day or week or something, I'll make sure to take a bath. But other than that, I don't really do much specifically in the evening. Lauren asked, do you have a favorite choreographer you love to follow? Crystal Pite, absolutely. Crystal Pite, Pite. She is one of the most incredible choreographers working today, especially in the modern contemporary arena. She does a lot of stuff with uh, uh, Netherlands Dance Theater. She does a lot of stuff in Canada. She's actually based in Canada. So she is my number now. Jeff, you're thank you. Incredible. I miss you all so much. It's so nice to see you all on here. Thank you for joining me today. Uh, yeah, and Epsom salts are the best. Absolutely, I have a stockpile, I would say, of different lavender and eucalyptus, and depending on my mood and what I need for the evening, I have different ones that I like to use. So, um, Jeff asks, as you get less young, do you notice dances getting more difficult or easier? That's a really good question, Jeff. Um, I I say it's both, because I view the physical side of it and the mental emotional side of it as kind of inverse. So the physical side of it definitely gets harder. It like I said, it takes longer to get moving in the morning. It takes longer to get things going, and the back end, the pain is more, and that is all gets more difficult. But the thing that's so wonderful about getting older, and particularly in the kind of work that we do in modern dance, the relationship to what we're dancing about, the emotions, the for an actor, the acting side of it, you have more of your life to bring to um, the roles that you're performing. So that side kind of gets, I wouldn't say that necessarily gets easier, but it definitely it's a little bit more interesting because you have more that you can bring to it, and you can develop more that way. Megan, you have a memorable moment that runs a lot. let's see, if I could pick one, um, I'd say it was probably the first time that I performed in Europe. We were in France, and I just remember we were in like this old theater that had, multiple balconies and just hundreds and hundreds of people. And they have a ritual in Europe, rather than they don't. Version of that is for the entire to come in unison. So after everybody's kind of going at their own time, start all together, and it's just the most feel, a couple hundred people. Um, such a um, experience. Right to Mexico, we did an outdoor performance, and it was free for the community in Monterrey, Mexico. So like 500 people, I think they said, close to, and so I've never felt so close to feeling like a rock star. That, 2,500 people were watching me dance, and so to be able to look out at an audience like that was really, really incredible. Is there a special dream collaboration that you are pursuing for yourself in the future that you can share? There, there's not really a specific thing. I, I have plans, for the future. But in terms of, specifically working on anything, I don't really have specific. For the company you currently dance for. Oh, really, stuff for me as a man in the dance world. My process is the same, but my experience is easier than women. So when I auditioned, there were about 50 guys auditioning for the one spot in the company. So I should probably tell you, our company is 10 dancers. There are 5 men and 5 women. But when I joined, there were only 8 dancers, 4 men and 4 women. So they were hiring for one spot for a guy, and so there were about 50 guys that showed up. And we did the audition, and they narrowed it down to do callbacks the next day. But where my audition differs from most others, the people that they had narrowed it down to, I think it was either 6 or 8. I was actually coming back to Huntsville. Another guy had to go back to Sacramento for a contract that he was on. Another guy was going to be somewhere else. So we actually didn't have our call back until a month later. And in that month, a second guy decided to leave the company. So when the 6 or 8 of us came back a month later, they were actually then hiring for 2 spots instead of 1. So that actually was very fortunate for me, because as I was told when I joined, that I was the second person chosen. So I got very fortunate in that. I'm cutting in and out a little bit. And has it gotten better? I'm sorry if the internet is cutting out. Hopefully it normalizes a little bit and you can. Let me know if I need to repeat any part of that story that you missed out on. From my personal experience, I will say, just in general for auditioning for our company, it's usually a multi-day process. For the women, we usually have somewhere between 100 and 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 we just making cuts down to a few, usually about 10 or 12 for a callback the next day. And then because our work you have so much, the pairing is a part of the callback once we kind of narrow it down to fewer people. But that process is the same for both men and women. It's just that generally speaking, much like in theater, there's usually more women looking for jobs than men. So it's a little harder for them, unfortunately. I can ask, what is my favorite and least favorite part of living in New York City? I love this question because my answer is they're actually the same thing. I love and I also hate that there's always something to do. So it's wonderful. There's always a show to see. There's always a museum to go to. There's always someone to hang out with. There's always something to do, which is wonderful. But when you have a personality like mine, where you really like to be busy and you like to do things, it's very easy to wear yourself out because you feel like there's so much to do, I should be doing something. And so, fortunately, as I've gotten older, I've learned how to say no to things and realize when I have to slow myself down. But yeah, that's both my favorite and least favorite part, is that it's a busy place. Um, and Lauren asks, are you still able to take class in New York City while working? So we actually, the company that I dance for actually just opened a dance center out in Astoria, Queens, about a year ago. So we have classes there, and I take a class every single morning before our rehearsal. So 3 days a week I take ballet, 2 days a week I take modern, um, and then when we're off, I tend to go and do other things, take a fun jazz class, or take another type, would take a Horton class, or do something a little bit different, take a musical theater class or something like that. But I tend to save those for when we're not in a rehearsal period. I'm already dancing 40 hours a week just for my job, so I don't usually have the energy to do anything outside of that. Brooke asks what my favorite Broadway show is. Oh, goodness. My favorite musical is West Side Story. Absolutely, hands down. I just think it's incredible. In terms of what's currently playing, I might have to be a little basic and say Wicked. I've seen it so many times. I think it's incredible. I think it's just such a wonderful show. It's such a spectacle, and so that would be that. Marianne, for the Paris tour that was shirt, will you all be able to pick back up? That was a lot of preparation and planning. That's yeah. So Marianne referenced. I was actually on tour when all of this with coronavirus happened. We were planning to go to France when the president announced that they were halting travel between Europe and the United States. So that was kind of crazy. We ended up being there for about 4 days, and then we came home. And so we were only able to do one of the shows that we were supposed to do. We have secured the majority of the theaters that we were supposed to go to that we had to cancel to go in late fall. So that's really good news for the company and for us, able to do of fall. So that's really exciting. Of course, we'll have to kind of start from square one in terms of preparation, getting ready to go on tour again, but that will happen in the fall. I'm assuming that all of this clears up before then. All right, Lauren has one last question, and then I think we'll eliminate style of modern. Graham is definitely the Martha Graham technique is what we use, and that is certainly what I am most familiar and comfortable with. I studied a lot in college. We'd studied Lamone and Horton and Cunningham and Taylor and all sorts of things. And I think that they all have, they're all so varied and so different. And I think that they have such wonderful uses. I would say Horton comes in a close second in terms of favorites, but definitely Graham would be the one that I was most drawn to, and then ended up kind of making most use of in my career. So thank you all so much for joining this evening. Thank you for supporting Fantasy Playhouse. And thank you for joining me. If you want to follow me on Instagram, at Jere Hunt, JereHunt. I also have a website, jerehunt.com. I try to post, try to keep it updated with when I'm performing or teaching or anything that I have going on. So you can see that there, and I do have a Facebook page, Jere Hunt. Um, try to update it. So again, for have a wonderful and stay healthy, safe. I will see you all soon.